In this video, I am going to build an entire brand, the story, the products, the launch, using the latest Qwen models from Alibaba. Qwen 3.7 excels at high quality static and narrative content, brand world building, product concept sprints, educational explainers, recipes and visual pairings, and much more. We're going to access these models through Venice, which means our conversations are anonymized. Venice shields your identity from the model providers. Qwen 3.7 gives you a 1 million token context limit with agentic capabilities such as function calling, reasoning, vision, and code optimization. And compared to frontier models by OpenAI and Anthropic, Qwen 3.7 comes in with very competitive results. Now note that Venice offers two variations of Qwen 3.7, Max and Plus. While Max very might be more intelligent, it lacks the vision capabilities that we're going to need for building our brand. So in this video, we are going to stick to Plus because it has vision. Meanwhile, we will be using Qwen Image 2 Pro for our image generation and editing. Together, this makes a powerful pair. So let's dive in and see what's possible. So first, in part one, we're going to build the world. So here's our first prompt, and don't worry, there's a link below where you can get all the prompts I use in this video. We're going to prompt Qwen 3.7 to be a senior brand strategist to help us create a brand Bible for our new brand. In here, you're going to want to input the name of your brand, and we're calling ours today Driftline. It will be a fictional small batch coffee roaster with a calm coastal early morning unpretentious vibe. We're going to ask for very straightforward deliverables: positioning, voice, world and lore, visual language, and a mascot character sheet. So fill in the details about your brand and then submit. So here we go. We have our brand Bible for our coffee roasting company. We got a mascot. We have our visual do's and don'ts, our visual language, our world and lore, everything we asked for, Qwen 3.7 has delivered. So now I'm going to copy that entire response. And here I'm going to open up our settings for the chat. And I'm going to come here to system prompt. And I'm going to add a system prompt and call it Driftline Assistant. And here I'm just going to quickly explain you help create assets for the Driftline brand. Here is our brand Bible. And then I'm going to paste everything there and we'll save that. We'll make sure it's activated here. And now in our chats, for as long as that's activated, our brand Bible will be loaded inside the conversation. So next up, we're going to create our launch thread introducing the world of Driftline. And we're going to paste this prompt here. We don't want any hashtags or emoji spam. We want everything to be in the brand voice. And we want a numbered tweet thread. So I'll shoot that off. And here we get our tweet thread. Wonderful. We'll come back to that later. And next we're going to say create a style token for our brand and visual palette that I can reuse. And now we can see Qwen 3.7 gives us the style token to use in a prompt, JSON to use if we're using an API or Figma, for example, or a brief to give a human artist. So this is what we're looking for here. And so from here on out, when I say style token, this is what I'm referring to. We're going to need this big chunk of text to append at the end of our prompts. So now we need a prompt to generate a character sheet for our mascot. Append the style token to the end of the prompt. Should be a standard profile shot. Now it's important to get this mascot shot right because we are going to be using that as the basis for all the imagery we create for our brand from here on out. So here we go. We can see we have our standard character sheet profile shot of Barnaby, the heron, and at the end we see our style token, clean hand-drawn line work, flat muted color fills, etc., which was right up here as well. So now we can simply copy that, and right here in the same chat, no problem, we can just choose the image category and look for Qwen Image 2 Pro. And now we can generate that image and get our character mascot sheet. And there he is, Barnaby. So I'm going to go ahead and just save that. But now we're going to want to edit it to create a whole illustration set. And I'll click this edit image icon. We'll make sure we keep on Qwen Image 2 Pro. And I'm going to say keep this exact character, same heron, proportions, line weight, palette, etc. But new pose. We want him perched on a weathered dock piling at dawn looking out at the water. Same plain background treatment. Now the plain background treatment is important because we're going to want to superimpose our mascot on our brand assets at some point. And I'll say this blue heron is walking along a foggy shoreline carrying a paper coffee bag. And I have pasted my style token to the end of it, and we'll shoot that off to get our next illustration reference. And there we go. Little bit of a background there, which isn't ideal, but it's okay because we can remove that later without issue. We'll save that. Now we'll come back to the original. We'll edit it again. And this time, the blue heron is perched on a weathered dock piling at dawn, looking out at the water, drinking his coffee. Same plain background treatment and margins. And we have our style token there at the end. And there he is, our lovable mascot on the docks. So we'll save that. And now we have a basic illustration reference set. So that brings us into part 2, spinning up a product. I'll be in a brand new chat here, and notice I will have the system prompt activated. So here in the settings, we see our Driftline assistant is activated, so it knows our brand Bible. And I'll say write a product brief for a new launch product that fits this world. The product is a cold brew line, and we want a line name, target customer and the core value proposition, the packaging copy, and a one-line art direction note for the packaging illustration. Now remember, this would not be accurate at all if we didn't have our system prompt activated. So make sure you have that activated or that isn't going to work. So here we get our line name, the Quiet Tide Cold Brew. This is for the quiet early riser seeking a calm, predictable start to their day. And some packaging copy. Original black cold brew, smooth, dark, and steady. No rush, no noise, just smooth, honest coffee. And art direction note with our mascot. Great. So that's what we'll need now to generate our packaging. So next up, we're going to make sure we have our Qwen Image 2 Pro selected because we're going to start generating some images of our product. So first things first is we'll create a flat packaging design for a coffee cold brew can label. We need exact text spelled correctly. Driftline, our brand, Morning Tide Cold Brew, the product line, a small tagline, smooth, low acid, slow steeped, and the volume of what's inside. Now here we're including a small heron motif, which isn't exactly our mascot that we generated earlier, but we're first just going to add that in, and then we will play with it after with the edit image feature to get it to a point that we like. And finally, here at the end, we copy our style token once again. We will be generating 2 variants here at a square aspect ratio. There we go. So we have not quite the mascot, but we've got the heron. And we've got a nice, I like this brand. I like the flat style. I think I'm going to go with this one. I like it more. And now I'm going to click that edit image icon. And we'll say we want a product hero shot, a tall matte cold brew coffee can for the brand Driftline, product Morning Tide Cold Brew, standing on wet coastal sand at dawn, soft fog behind, clean, premium, lots of negative space. We'll make sure we're generating 16 by 9 here. I'll generate 2 variants, and this is essentially the image we're going to put on the website. All right, there we go. We got our can. We did lose the heron. So what I'll do here now is I'll use the edit image feature. I'll click that edit image icon and I'll go over here to combine images. And I'm going to select from my assets our mascot here. And I'm going to say superimpose the blue heron character image cleanly onto the cold brew coffee can over the waves. Under the text. Now this might be a little bit tricky just to get a clean style here, but it will be a helpful exercise in using the edit image feature. My point is this is already a little, like it's complete and we risk making it a little too complicated by adding that heron in there. But as we see when we have the full image, if we're going to wrap that around a can, we might not see that heron anyway. So this is where we just need to play and go back and forth with the models until we get the results we want. And actually, I stand corrected. I think that looks pretty good. Qwen Image 2 did actually a really good job here. Although we did lose a little bit of the text here, in which case we can just edit image again, fix the subtext on the can, smooth, low acid, slow, steeped. But overall, I like the vibe of the heron on the can. And great, it fixed our text. So I'll save that. And now we're ready to move on to part 3 with some content. Okay, so earlier we created our intro thread here. And one thing we could do with that is generate an image for each post in the thread to introduce the brand. So in this part, we're going to create images for our intro thread, as well as create an explainer thread for how we make the product. So first, I'll copy this tweet thread. I'll start a new chat. I'll select Qwen 3.7 Plus, and I'll say, give me an on-brand image generation prompt for each post in the tweet thread. And then I'll paste that there. Now remember, we have our system prompt activated, so we know what our illustration style should look like, and that should be included in these image generation prompts, as well as the color scheme and visual palette. So now we're getting all of our tweet image generation prompts. And we can simply go through one at a time and generate these. I'll show you a little shortcut though, and that is with the Venice agentic chat. And here in the agentic chat, we actually won't be using Qwen 3.7. We can choose between private Kimi K2.5 or Grok 4.3 or anonymized requests through Claude Sonnet or Opus. What I'd say is generate all 10 of these images. And then the agent will just generate all those for us, and we don't have to go in manually one by one to do it. So here we go. We got our images. It actually did not use the Qwen Image 2 Pro. It used a free and open source model here, which you can kind of see by the suffering quality of the text. But it did generate all of them, and that would be a shortcut for generating multiple images all at once. But now let's create our educational thread where we will put tender love and care into each and every image we generate. So we have our system prompt activated. In Driftline brand voice, write a 5-part thread explaining how cold brew extraction actually works. 1 key idea per part, each part under 280 characters, and end each part with a 1-line label I can use as a diagram caption, because we are going to generate diagram images for each part of the thread. Okay, so now we have our thread and we have our diagram little prompt as well. So now, since we're in the same conversation, we'll say now for each diagram, give me an on-brand prompt for generating the image. Include 3 to 4 short callout labels. And we'll also say to include the style token. And then I'll just help it out and I'll give it the style token just in case. Great. So now we have our prompts for each tweet in the thread. And I already showed you how you could use the agentic chat to generate those in bulk. But for now, we will go one at a time, copying the prompt, switching over to Qwen Image 2 Pro, pasting that in. We'll just do a single variant with a square image. And we'll just go one at a time, going back to copy each prompt, paste it in until we get all of our images. And there we have it. One at a time, we have each image for our introductory tweet thread or Instagram carousel, whatever we might use. Now, obviously, we have a little bit of a text problem there. Very easy to fix just by clicking the Edit Image button. This whole image is a little bit messed up because we actually see the names of the colors. So we would regenerate that. But overall, it's consistently on brand, and the thread itself does provide a bit of value for the audience. So to launch our product, we're going to continue to just generate more assets. I'm not going to go into detail onto each one, but one of the most important things we need here in the beginning is a launch campaign kit and a landing page. So I'm going to come back to this conversation where we made the product, the imagery, and we have all this information about our first product, and I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to say generate campaign and landing page copy for our new product. And I'll paste the product line information and we'll say deliverables. We want a campaign concept, headline in brand voice, 5 carousel slides, and a closing CTA line. Okay, we have our concept for the campaign, the quiet hour, and everything we need here. Perfect. So now we want to generate our hero image. We'll say create an image gen prompt for a landing page hero image, as well as one image per carousel slide. Great. Now we'll generate these one at a time for use on our landing page. So there's some options for our header image. And now I'm going to take our carousel prompts and I'm going to show you another shortcut using the Venice Studio. Here I can generate multiple images at the same time. We'll choose square. We'll choose Qwen Image 2 Pro. And we can just shoot these off one at a time. And then this all happens much faster. And we have all of our images here. So before we finish up and make our landing page, the last pro tip is using Qwen 3.7 Plus. It does have vision. So if we're unsure about an asset, for example, or even if we want to change an asset, we can ask, does this image meet our brand visual standards? And remember, we have our system prompt activated here, so it knows our brand standards. But the vision model can now look at the image and tell us yes or no if it matches. And here we can see Qwen has analyzed everything about the image to match our brand. We have a very thorough response overall. It's highly cohesive and on-brand asset. Good, right answer. Okay, so finally to close this off, I'm going to create a landing page for our brand. Now, I'm not going to use the Venice interface for this. I'm going to use the API. You can access the API over here. In the sidebar, you can generate a key and you can check out all the models available to you on Venice. In our case, we're going to stick to Qwen 3.7 Plus, and we're going to create the website with Qwen 3.7 Plus. Now, I've created a simple folder in my computer with all of our images, as well things for the hero, as well as our carousel. And I've opened OpenCode here inside my terminal. And if you want to learn more about this exact process, check out the Venice YouTube channel. There's a video called An Alternative to Claude Code, and I teach you how to set up OpenCode. We're going to switch the model to Qwen 3.7 Plus. And I'm also going to save our brand Bible here from the system prompt. I'm going to save that into a new document. So we have our brand Bible markdown file here. So we'll say following our brand Bible and using the images in this directory, we want to create a landing page for the new product line. And then we are going to do a lot of copying and pasting here. So we'll copy first the information about the line, the cold brew. And we want to take our campaign concept with our carousel slides. And we'll finish up just by saying, make sure everything we generate is on brand and following our brand guidelines. Now we are in plan mode here. So Qwen's going to help us create a plan before it builds. OpenCode is neat because over here we're going to be able to see how much money we've spent in the conversation and how many tokens are being used. And this is remarkably fast here. So we'll have our hero section, our philosophy, the value proposition, the product highlights, the morning ritual, and each section will have its own images, the same ones we generated earlier. And it has a couple questions here. Tech stack will just be basic HTML and CSS. Carousel behavior. We'll answer those questions. Shift into build mode and let her rip. Okay, that was very quick and it cost us 5 cents so far. Let's take a look. Now you can see here that we have a not bad. It's a good starting point. It's on brand at least. It's going to need some work. But for example, here we probably want to move this text over to be cleaner. So because Qwen 3.7 has vision, I can create a screenshot like that, drag it in here and say fix the text alignment and padding so the text does not overlap the heron. And it will fix that up. We'll change this color as well. And now we have the beginnings of our brand, of the product line for our business. And now we've got that in a line. I'm telling it to make that lighter with a bit of a darker shadow so we can see it better. And now that is more visible. And we've spent 10 cents or so here, plus whatever we spent on the images, which was probably around $1, maybe $2. So we see here, it's a good starting point. It's not perfect, but this was much cheaper than a Squarespace or Wix subscription, for example. And we have the assets we need to really put the brand out there, tweet threads, Instagram carousels, whatever it might be. Most importantly, we have our brand style guide. We have the world. Qwen 3.7 is a very creative model. It has vision along with Qwen Image 2 Pro. You have a power combination that is very well priced and available anonymously through Venice. So I hope this guide was helpful and inspiring for you builders out there. Happy building. And if you have any questions or you want to join a community of AI builders, check out the Venice Discord. You're invited.